This episode is brought to you by PropelOff. People take authentication for granted, but it's more than how customers log into your product. It's how you manage your relationship with your users. The easiest way to make authentication your advantage is to use PropelOff. PropelOff is more than just functional. It's powerful. With tools like Managed UIs, Enterprise SSO, robust user management features, and actionable insights, PropelOff adapts as your product grows. And the best part? When off is effortless, your team can focus on scaling, not troubleshooting. That means more releases, happier customers, and more growth for your business. Save dev time, win over your customers, and propel your business forward with PropelOff. Check them out at propeloff.com. That's PROPELAUTH.com. This episode is sponsored by Codecrafters. As an engineer myself, I know that the best way to learn how to code is to build something new. But sometimes it's hard to come up with project ideas as well as find a community of folks on the same learning path. That's where Codecrafters comes in. With Codecrafters, you can build something that actually stimulates your mind while strengthening your engineering fundamentals. And you can do so by using your favorite IDE or tools to code and build your own Git, Redis, or HTTP server in the language of your choice. Languages like Rust, C++, or Go. Codecrafters is designed to optimize your learning experience as it's designed for productivity. Sign up today and become a better, more confident programmer. Visit codestory.co/codecrafters. That's CODECRAFTERS to get started and get 40% off your upgrade. Okay guys, I got a serious update for you. You heard me talk about SEMA and the product roadmap radar. I just caught up with Matt, who's the founder there, and he gave me the latest on what they are building. And my mind is blown. The team at SEMA are taking things to the next level. Built around the core of the product roadmap radar, i.e. code and Jira analysis, they are building agent orchestration across the product lifecycle. Picture this. You hook up this system same as before, i.e. integrate your repository and your backlog, Jira today. From that point, SEMA's agent analyzes the codebase and makes suggestions as to what needs to be done next and what could improve, optimize the product. Then, if those tasks are routine, the agent assigns the task to a coding agent, think something like Devin, to complete the minutia, while assigning the human-in-the-loop task to engineers themselves. What you end up with is engineers focusing on building core competency features, while AI handles all the rest. If you're not salivating right now, I don't think you fully understand what this means. But here's what I would suggest. Right now, their product is in a closed beta, and SEMA is looking for folks to sign up for their Product Intelligence Advisory Board. This gives you the opportunity to use the product, give feedback, help shape the future of what's built. Oh, and not to mention additional free usage of the product potentially through the end of 2026. So, if that fits your workflow and toolset, you need to reach out today. Go to codestory.co/nextlevel, NEXTLEVEL, and reach out to Matt at SEMA to learn more and join the Product Intelligence Advisory Board. Again, that's codestory.co/nextlevel. This episode is sponsored by Postman. Postman is the world's leading API platform, trusted by 98% of the Fortune 500 and over 40 million developers. Tap into APIs from 18,000 plus companies to power agents that make smarter decisions. Learn more at postman.com/podcast/codestory. This message is sponsored by Melee Search. Today, search isn't just a feature, it's a cornerstone. And Melee Search gives your users the experience they need with lightning-fast performance, full-text search, AI usage, and multimodal capabilities. Melee Search delivers relevant results in less than the blink of an eye. Use the promo code CODESTORY at checkout to get 2 months free at meleesearch.com. That's MEILI search.com. This episode is brought to you by Paddle. Don't settle for less when you can have more, MOR, with Paddle, your merchant of record. Eliminate the headaches of payments, grow your revenue everywhere, and focus on what you do best, building your product. Get more revenue with less hassle at paddle.com. This episode is sponsored by NordProtect. In a world where data breaches are on the rise and identity theft is becoming more common, you have to take steps to protect yourself. NordProtect offers you everything you need to keep your identity safe, all in one easy place. It's built to help you safeguard your identity with advanced automation that works 24/7 on your behalf. Things like dark web monitoring, credit monitoring, security alerts, and more. And if the worst should occur, the platform walks alongside you for identity restoration. NordProtect plans come with financial coverage across a wide range of threats, from identity theft to online fraud and scams, so you are covered when it matters most. Get an exclusive 5% discount on NordProtect plans. Go to nordprotect.com/codestory and use the code CODESTORY at checkout. You can also find the link in the episode notes. That's nordprotect.com/codestory.
So the company itself, we connected at a very early skeleton crew ideation phase was, I'd say, June, about 2 years ago now, 2023. Things started coming together around, I'd say, October, where we're like, hey, okay, this is a problem we think needs to solve, which was a fun time also in the market because that's when the whole rage of LLM started coming in. We always knew to solve this problem fundamentally from the first principles was it's all about the data. If you don't necessarily bring in the right data acquisition, and then more importantly, enrich it in a way that would make it useful for a human to triage it with high outcomes, then the reality is you couldn't do that at machine speed with LLMs. I'm Marco Rodrigues, co-founder and customer engineering lead at Exaforce.
This is Code Story, a podcast bringing you interviews with tech visionaries.
Spent 6 months moonlighting.
There's nothing on the back end.
Who share what it takes to change an industry.
I don't exactly know what to do
took
next.
many goes to get right.
Who built the teams that have their back.
A company is its people.
The teams help each other achieve
Most
more.
proud of our team.
Keeping scalability top of mind.
All that infrastructure was a
Yes,
pain.
we've been fighting it as we grow.
Total waste of time. The stories you don't read in the headlines.
It's not an easy thing to achieve, mind
Took it
you.
off the shelf and dusted it off and tried it again.
To ride the ups and downs of the startup life.
You need to really
It's
want it.
not just about technology.
All this and more on Code Story.
I'm your host, Noah Labhart, and today how Marco Rodrigues is enabling you to protect your business with breakthrough agentic AI empowering the SOC lifecycle. Marco Rodrigues was born and raised in Canada, but now lives in the Bay Area. His tech genesis was around the time when the internet came out, when he spent an entire summer indoors, worrying his mother. He eventually attended university in Toronto and went to work for Juniper Networks. Past that, he went towards the startup world, running product teams and taking part in the ownership and selling of solutions and service offerings. But outside of tech, he is married with twin girls in the Naval Cadet Core. He's a big hockey nut, rooting for the Edmonton Oilers, and enjoys taking his kids to hockey rinks all over the world. Marco spent many years watching his teams drown in data and tooling. The situations were more complex, but the outcomes weren't getting better. He started to consider the advent of AI and asked the question, how do we solve these sorts of problems with an agentic SOC platform? This is the creation story of Exaforce.
We're an agentic security platform. The net of it is what we call it. If you wanted to ask me how Exaforce started, what problem was it trying to solve? I spent a lot of years watching just my own SOC teams drowning in data, tooling. Every security stack was becoming more complex, but the outcomes weren't improving, meaning we'd have more data, we'd throw more tools at the data, and then throw more people at it. But the reality is things weren't getting better, they were just getting worse. And there's only so many bodies you can throw at the issue. So the question that started Exaforce really was, what if AI itself could reason about security like an actual person, like an analyst, and not just automate tickets, right? Don't hyper automate what's already broken, right? We really have to take first principles approach, figure out, hey, from a ground up, really, how do we solve this problem in the long term? But that's where we built Exaforce around that vision. It's an agentic SOC platform that delivers ultimately a multiple increase in productivity and efficacy by combining what we call our semantic behavioral model and knowledge models all in one. And our approach is unique in the sense that it fuses semantic understanding of security data with statistical reasoning, and then the LLM-driven decision logic, creating what we call exabots. And from there, those are what you can loosely refer to them as AI agents that perform the triaging, investigation, response workflows that an analyst would typically do, but at the speed of machine speed and high quality. again, traditional SOC in my view, were fundamentally broken. Teams were overloaded with alerts, tools, manual workflows, talent shortages. The reality is usually when someone at a SOC level, if they're highly skilled, they tend to either age out very quickly, or in this case, experience out very quickly, or move on to other things in terms of management or leadership. They had alert fatigue, long response times, just made it impossible for a lot of the companies to run an effective SOC, right? Without really throwing hundreds or thousands of bodies at a problem, which is operationally not feasible for a lot of these companies. And now you have a multiple order effect where a lot of the adversaries are using AI themselves to attack organizations. So you really have to really rethink how you defend and protect yourself. So yeah, even with the modern SIMs and source, all these tools, response times just had remained slow. That was just my view, and more importantly, what I experienced in my 3 years at F5, building and operating a lot of these security operations teams.
Let's dive into what you would consider the MVP for Exaforce, that first version you built. How long did it take to build, and what sort of tools were you using to bring it to life?
So the company itself, we connected with a very early skeleton crew. Ideation phase was, I'd say, June, about 2 years ago now, 2023. Things started coming together around, I'd say, October, where we're like, hey, okay, this is a problem we think needs to solve, which was a fun time also in the market because that's when the whole rage of LLM started coming in. A lot of overhyped expectation, but there was obviously some fundamental and groundbreaking technology there. The build journey, I guess, the way you framed it was, what were some of the toughest technical challenges we started with was really starting with the data. A lot of companies, and the market's very noisy for AI SOC, as an example. You'll have companies who will position or bolt on solutions on existing tool stacks. You'll have existing tool stacks just throwing a chatbot claiming AI SOC. But really, given our CTO, for example, has a very deep data science background, we always knew to solve this problem fundamentally from the first principles was it's all about the data, right? If you don't necessarily bring in the right data acquisition, and then more importantly, enrich it in a way that would make it useful for a human to triage it with high outcomes, then the reality is you couldn't do that at machine speed with LLM. So the data up front, not just the data quality, but the data pipeline in terms of how you ingest the data, process the data, and then leverage that data across the entire stack and tools, or in this case, the agents you want to build to produce those outcomes. We spent, I'd say, the first MVP was probably 6 months of just saying, all right, what is the right data architecture approach to get to a point where we can ingest not just the logs, events, but also configurations, code bases, threat intelligence feeds, everything that's a human would need to really triage an alert, for example, or just investigate something that's suspicious. How do we do that at scale so then we can impart that into the system downstream so models, in this case LLMs or agents, can do their things at machine speed? So I would say the MVP for the first 6 to 9 months was hyper-focused on getting that data architecture and thought process nailed down. That's what we call our semantic data model, which contextualizes the logs, identities, configurations, etc. And then from there, we're like, hey, by the way, now that we have all this data, we also now need to build situational awareness of what a user typically does. So Noah's baseline is he typically performs these actions in this environment from this location over a certain period of time. This is what we would call a baseline normal behavior. We would have to do some behavioral modeling of the environment, of each identity and each account and what they do, because that's extremely important contextual information for a human to know when they investigate something. I would know if Noah is an administrator of this tool versus not. And that's important to me because if someone's not an administrator and they're doing administrative functions, that's way out of the norm. So that's, again, from there, we started baselining and tracking overall environmental changes where we can also then elevate kind of our own unique detections. And then you take all that, and then at the end of that, you would call it what we call our knowledge model. So we really compress all the right data needed for a specific situation, for just like a human would to investigate something. We would then package that in a way and then process it through our knowledge model. And the output from there ultimately would result in, hey, we believe with high confidence, this can be a false positive. Or maybe actually, you know what, even though this was deemed a low critical alert a low alert from Amazon Guard Duty as an example. We believe it's high because we were able to correlate many other signals fairly quickly to say, hey, this looks super suspicious. And we're able to do that at machine scale. So I would say that was the MVP to really nail down that architecture for the first, say, 9 to 12 months. Then we really built out a very strong X team globally. And then we just doubled down on the UI and just really wanted to say, we need to make this thing beautiful, sexy, but more importantly, usable from an operator point of view. We took into account several personas to make sure the thing makes sense to a lot of different types of users, and we doubled down on it. I think the best way I've described it so far is if you were to take a traditional SIM and then take a BI tool like Tableau, if they were to have a baby, we're a cross-section of that, right? We're trying to do what BI did for business and for business data, we're doing for security data. So analysts can come in now and answer very hard questions very quickly. And yeah, so then you pull that all together. The last year, first year was at that MVP, which I just explained. And then the last year was just really cranking out product. In my view, at such a pace that I haven't seen yet, mainly because almost everyone in the company is AI first, not only because we're building a product, but also we kind of dog food tools out there that makes everyone more productive. Even myself on the go-to-market side, I even submit code, pull requests, those kind of things.
This episode is brought to you by Vention, your partner in building smarter with AI. When you're moving fast, AI can be your biggest growth driver or a major time sink. That's why Vention created expert-led AI workshops, tailored sessions that help startups test ideas quickly, validate product fit, and avoid expensive detours. You'll walk away with a clear, practical roadmap built by senior engineers and an in-house CTO who've delivered over 150 AI projects across 30-plus industries, giving you not just technical direction, but the engineering peace of mind that every decision is built to last. Go to ventionteams.com or book your AI workshop now at ventionteams.com/codestory and go from idea to impact faster. That's ventionteams.com/codestory. This episode is sponsored by Fullscale. Let me guess, your team's shipping sprint velocity looks good, but you're still asking yourself, is anyone actually thinking about the why? Matt Watson's been there. He's the founder behind Vin Solutions and Stackify and now runs Fullscale with a 300-plus person dev team. And after 2 decades in the trenches, he's seen the same pattern over and over. Smart developers stuck in systems that reward ticket-taking instead of real thinking. That's why he wrote Product Driven, a playbook for tech leaders who are done babysitting developers and ready to build teams that own the outcome. If you're tired of translating every feature, doing all the thinking, or wondering why your smart team is still stuck, this is the fix. Go to productdriven.com/codestory to grab the book and get the bonus toolkit to help your team shift from output to outcomes, like 12 bold ways to get your retros out of robot mode. Again, that's productdriven.com/codestory. This episode is brought to you by Paddle. As a startup, you face unique challenges to stay competitive. You and your team need to stay focused on your product, not your payments. You need to do more, MOR, and DIY less. With Paddle. Paddle is your merchant of record, becoming the seller of record for your SaaS transactions, enabling your team to focus on what's important, your product. Paddle handles all payment management across multiple gateways and methods, taking ownership of tax liability while remaining compliant with regulations across all markets. The platform handles all aspects of SaaS billing models, upgrades, add-on, trials, and more. Let's look at the results. MOR revenue optimization is built into Paddle and accounts for up to 16% higher conversion rates, reduced payment failures, localized pricing, and churn prevention, recovering 40% of cancellations. Their developer-friendly tools are API first with comprehensive documentation, removing the burden from your engineers. With Paddle as your merchant of record, you'll generate more revenue, find and keep more customers, grow faster, and stay compliant everywhere. So what are you waiting for? Get more revenue with less hassle at paddle.com. Okay, guys, I got a serious update for you. You heard me talk about SEMA and the product roadmap radar. I just caught up with Matt, who's the founder there, and he gave me the latest on what they are building. And my mind is blown. The team at SEMA are taking things to the next level. Built around the core of the product roadmap radar, i.e. code and Jira analysis, they are building agent orchestration across the product lifecycle. Picture this. You hook up this system same as before, i.e. integrate your repository and your backlog, Jira today. From that point, SEMA's agent analyzes the codebase and makes suggestions as to what needs to be done next and what could improve, optimize the product. Then, if those tasks are routine, the agent assigns the task to a coding agent, think something like Devin, to complete the minutia, while assigning the human-in-the-loop task to engineers themselves. What you end up with is engineers focusing on building core competency features, while AI handles all the rest. If you're not salivating right now, I don't think you fully understand what this means. But here's what I would suggest. Right now, their product is in a closed beta, and SEMA is looking for folks to sign up for their Product Intelligence Advisory Board. This gives you the opportunity to use the product, give feedback, help shape the future of what's built. Oh, and not to mention additional free usage of the product, potentially through the end of 2026. So, if that fits your workflow and toolset, you need to reach out today. Go to codestory.co/nextlevel, NEXTLEVEL, and reach out to Matt at SEMA to learn more and join the Product Intelligence Advisory Board. Again, that's codestory.co/nextlevel. Go back to the MVP point, and then you started to mature and progress the product. I want to dive in a little more about how you did that, and I'm curious about, to wrap that in a box a little bit, what I'm looking for is, how did you build your roadmap? How did you go about deciding that, okay, this is the next most important thing to build or to address with Exaforce?
Sure, I would say a lot of it was, like anything in a startup, you have to make bets. So part of it is intuition-based, but a lot of it was our early design partners. We partnered with, I want to say 10, maybe slightly less, key design partners, and we strategically picked the ones we felt were important that would align to what we're trying to build in terms of their journey. And then we spent a good 9 to 12 months working with them very closely. So during that second part of the MVP build phase that I mentioned, where we just doubled down, we were working super close with a lot of these design partners, took a lot of input from them. And then that allowed us to then tweak and calibrate not just specific product day-to-day feedback, but overall, hey, what's your business goals? What are your day-to-day challenges from an operational standpoint? So we took all those inputs in, and then that's how we evolved the product and the roadmap, right? And then that's ultimately what allowed us to calibrate the use cases to where we're at today.
Okay, you mentioned the team and kind of being 100 strong globally. How did you build that team? And what did you look for in those people to indicate that they are the winning horses to join you?
Like a lot of startups, you start with a known quantity. That's how most startups work. You'll see like a good 5-10 people who kind of join. You either at some point cross paths with other folks, so you understand what you're capable of or what those individuals are capable of. But then from there, the thought process was, hey, we need global coverage, because in addition to building out a global SaaS, we also have a global MDR service, which requires 24/7 global coverage. So having a redundant or a globally distributed team was important to us. And we nailed down, I'd say we have the 4 core areas where the teams are, I'd say, deployed, about 80% of the 100 I mentioned. We have a big team in Zurich, which is where our data science ML team is based out of. Then we have folks out in Prague or Eastern Europe. We have a leader there who's extremely reliable, worked with him, and he's able to attract the right talent that we need as well. And then, of course, we have a team in Bangalore, and then a big team in the Bay Area, and some out at the East Coast in the US. So that's where the team's located. In terms of identifying the talent, it really came down to just we need individuals who are not really good at the data science, ML side, of course. Security, threat researchers was important as well, software, front-end, back-end teams. So essentially folks who built large-scale distributed systems, and then more importantly, taking those distributed systems and converting them to operationalizing them, meaning making them a SaaS. So that was the kind of the cross-section of the skill set we were looking for. And then obviously I'll have a pretty big UX team as well, and data scientists.
So I'm curious about scalability and where this sort of comes into play. There's technical scalability, which is important. There's also people scalability and business and all those sorts of things. I'm curious where scale has been interesting, right? Where you've had to fight it as you've grown.
It's always a balance. Just a couple of weeks ago, I was in Seattle for an AWS event because we were awarded the Generative AI Global Accelerator Program, which is essentially just thousands of startups apply, they pick 40, and then they bring everyone out to AWS in Seattle. I'm bringing this up because there were a lot of founders there, early founders, first-time founders, who were asking me, hey, almost a very similar question. When is the right time to scale? And I honestly didn't have a good answer for them. And what I told them was, it comes with experience. You never want to overthink or overplan, because at the same time, then you may miscapitalize resources. And that's actually very, very detrimental for a company when it's very early. So you have to be in tune to some of the backward pressure signals that you see within the organization, right? But at the same time, you want to hear the kettle getting hot, or even almost to the point where it's about to pop, and that's where you know you need to double down on it. So there's that aspect of it where, hey, this is how we grow the business. Once you start to see some early signs that you need to grow the business, right? Even though in the back of my mind, I've run large organizations of 500-600 people, where does it make sense to hire this kind of operational person now? The answer is no, because maybe I will need to in 2-3 years, but that's a good thing because we've reached that scale in terms of revenue and customers, right? So there's that signal where you look for, which is almost, it's intuitive, but not intuitive at the same time. You just feel it, right? As you do this more than once. Obviously, there's a technical aspect of it as well. From that point of view, things, I don't want to say it's easier because architecturally and from a technology standpoint, it's always hard to know these things. But at the same time, there's a lot of tools out there, whether it's cloud platforms or tools that allow you to scale, not just as an individual. A single individual can scale better, but also when needs as an organization grow, you can easily scale and add resources as well. So I'm less worried about how we scale from a technology standpoint. I'm pretty comfortable and understand on the architecture side. I'd say the non-tangibles are on the non-technical side. And you always, as a leader, you always sit down, you plan out what you want to do in the next 6 to 12 months, even the next 2 years. But as a startup, really, you're trying to survive for the next 3 to 6 months, and you're constantly recalibrating what you think your plan was versus what reality is telling you. And that's from there, then, yeah, that's how we scale, right? Like, all right, I'm getting traction here, then I understand I need to maybe double down on another solutions engineer or AE in the region, those kind of things. So I take it in multiple approaches. Directionally is where we want to go. Measure it as frequent as you can, or really put your hand over the fire. If it starts to get hot, then you know this situation needs to be dealt with, right? That's typically the first 2-3 years of a business, depending on your certain revenue targets. Then you start to think about it from a streamlined operational standpoint. And I'd argue even today with a lot of platforms now that are AI native, you can even delay that as well. Like what I can do now as a single individual, not just on the technical side, even just day-to-day business stuff, whether it's IT, finance, legal, I can produce a lot more just as an individual with a lot of these AI-driven tools and services out there than I was able to about 5 years ago. Or even, I would argue even 2-3 years ago. Scaling is very different. And I can see it actually having various different inputs depending on how AI in general impacts all these other verticals.
This episode is sponsored by Search. In today's digital landscape, search isn't just a feature, it's a cornerstone. And you need a user experience that drives customer satisfaction. You need Search. Search is lightning fast performance, returning answers in less than 50 milliseconds. Yeah, you heard that right. Faster than the blink of an eye. The open source AI search engine is plug and play, so you can get up and running in minutes with smart presets, allowing you to start searching through your data with zero configuration. Search utilizes advanced full-text search and AI, ensuring your results are ultra-relevant with semantic depth. It's multimodal, supporting images, videos, and audio, along with being federated, i.e. searching across multiple data sources. And it's developer-friendly. Whether you're building a content-rich website or enterprise application, Search delivers the experience your users expect and deserve. For a limited time, CodeStory users can get 2 months free. Use the promo code CODESTORY, all one word, at checkout. Just go to melisearch.com and get started today. That's MEILI search.com. This episode is brought to you by PropelOff. People take authentication for granted, but it's more than how customers log into your product. It's how you manage your relationship with your users. The easiest way to make authentication your advantage is to use PropelOff. PropelOff is more than just functional. It's powerful. With tools like Managed UIs, Enterprise SSO, robust user management features, and actionable insights, PropelOff adapts as your product grows. And the best part? When Auth is effortless, your team can focus on scaling, not troubleshooting. That means more releases, happier customers, and more growth for your business. Save dev time, win over your customers, and propel your business forward with PropelOff. Check them out at propeloff.com. That's PROPELAUTH.com. So, as you step out on the balcony, you look across all that you've built. With Exaforce specifically, what are you most proud of?
From a visualization standpoint, how we built something so unique from a data processing, data visualization standpoint, delivering outcomes for users, but at the same time, visualizing it in a way that makes it easy to consume. Like I can't give customer names. Some customers, like the moment they use the tool, they're almost shocked, right? They're like, how long you been doing this? And from that point of view, it's because they see such maturity in the tool and ease of use that I feel proud of that. And it makes me super confident when we get into POCs and demos with customers. We typically blow them away. So I'd say a lot of the rich visualization of the data that allows security engineers and SOC analysts to really answer these questions, very tough questions across dozens upon dozens of different signal or data sources, answer them quickly and in a way that allows them to better enable their organization. It's probably something I'm most proud of, while at the same time, really under the hood solving tough technical challenges that we don't necessarily expose to customers, because ultimately what they care about are outcomes, business outcomes. So being able to wrap that and package it in a way that's super easy for them to use is probably what I feel most proud of, because that allows me as a kind of a customer-facing role, in a customer-facing role, allows me to then easily convince customers, because it's always when the rubber hits the road and when they see it and play with it for the first time. It's like when someone got in their first Tesla 5 years ago, right? The car ultimately just sells itself. And that's what I'm most proud of. Once people get their hands on our product, in a POC, for example, it tends to sell itself from there. And those are the signals we've been seeing. So it's super exciting.
Let's flip the script a little bit. Tell me about a mistake you made and how you and your team responded to it.
A certain technology decision was made internally in the product, partially based on some feedback and request from one of our design partners. We started delivering it. Then we quickly realized this was going to be more of a bespoke solution, not necessarily something that made sense for a large customer base. And so the challenge there was twofold. One, you had to really enable yourself mentally to say no, because sometimes you have to, just to protect or focus on what needs to be done for really the majority of the customer base out there. We learned it was quite obvious that what was starting to happen would potentially even impact some other areas in the product. So we had to peel that back and then say, hey, this is not how we want to approach it. So we talked to the design partner, and then they were actually open to the more feasible approach, which we felt better aligned with the market was demanding at the time. And we all met in the same place. From that point of view, I would say how we were able to identify it was close. We had a very close loop with engineering and the customer. And we were practically on kind of almost a semi-daily basis, just syncing up, discussing Slack channels, those kind of things. And I quickly identified that this is probably not going the right direction. We sat down and we recalibrated quite quickly.
Let's move forward then. This will be fun. Tell me what the future looks like for the product, for your team, for the whole company. Where are you going?
So what's next for Exaforce? AI security in general. Hopefully what I would love to see is by 2026, 27, every enterprise SOC will have some form of AI analyst sitting next to every human one. And that's what I call a hybrid model that we're enabling, right? There's always this misnomer where folks think from the point of view of jobs being potentially supplemented by AI. My view is ultimately what we're trying to do is that, again, from my personal experience and just talking to all our design partners, they're just drowning in alerts. Like they don't have enough people, right? So it's less of a replacement type vision. I see it, we're just augmenting all the existing folks. So hopefully what I see in the next 2-3 years is every analyst, every security engineer is partnered with an AI analyst that allows them to be much more effective at what they do on their day-to-day. I would say if you project out even further, then what does it start to look like? I'd say maybe agentic orchestration, where agents in some form are talking to other agents, doing things like cross-detection responses and even real-time compliance requests coming in from, say, your legal team. Actually, the latter we can do today, but tends to be more nuanced. But really, just as a concept in the market where inbox zero, like you always want to get your inbox to zero by the end of the day, whether it's throwing away the ones that you shouldn't respond or responding to the ones you need to, and or just snoozing what needs to be done or what can be reflected later. That's at least my philosophy. I was trying to get inbox zero on a daily basis. It can be hard. My mission here at Exaforce really is to try to get SOCs to Q0, is what I call it. No backlog, no burnout, zero blind spots is really how I framed it with a lot of our design or customers now. We're beyond design partners. And then ultimately, once you have this hyper enablement of AI for a lot of the security organizations, for all these or security teams across all these organizations, then I think the really fun part then becomes is you allow the company now or the teams to focus on other important aspects, whether it's maybe cleaning up or providing more security oversights in areas that you couldn't, or those resources then start to get allocated to top of line revenue projects that helps the organization grow.
let's switch to you, Marco. Who influences the way that you work? Name a person or many persons or something you look up to and why.
I look at it holistically. If I was to kind of name, I wouldn't want to name a specific person, but maybe a type of person, which would be someone who challenges me, both in a direct and indirect way. When I see a lot of that around with the folks I work with, which is why I love doing what I do as a startup, right? Because you have to be wired a certain way to really want to build companies and be an entrepreneur. But what I see around me is, and what motivates me is just their commitment, right? Being customer focused, customer dedicated, saying, hey, ultimately we're here to solve real problems that customers are facing. And I'm willing to double down, and not just from a time commitment point of view, but also from just an intensity point of view, right? And those are the type of people where I feed off of, because then not only do I want to meet them at their level, but at the same time exceed it. And then I find it becomes a continuous self-fulfilling loop as well, because then likely on the other end, you have just as competitive folks, and then you all just work as hard as you can to get to an ultimate goal. I would say and that just doesn't apply in technology, right? Whether it's I'm being challenged by my kids, like having fun with the kids, and let's see who can do a 1 mile as fast as possible, right? So we'll just run, right? Or exercise, like certain goals and targets. Just from a competitive nature, that's what drives me typically. And not, like I said, not just technical, but just even on the non-technical side, we know on the personal life side, it's finding those fun little goals and milestones. And sure, you can celebrate them quickly, but it's more the overarching, hey, this is the type of thing I want to do as an individual. You sit down and then you challenge yourself and your friends and family around there. And that's typically hopefully I tend to surround myself with some of those, if not all those kind of people that kind of elevates me. And in the process, I elevate everyone else. That's what I hope for, but that's ultimately just how I've architected my personal and professional life.
Okay, Marco, last question. So you're getting on a plane. You're sitting next to a young entrepreneur who's built the next big thing. They're jazzed about it. They can't wait to show it off to the world and can't wait to show it off to you right there on the plane. What advice do you give this person, having gone down this road a bit, several times?
Enjoy the moment, but never forget your core principles. There's always because typically what happens is as you get bigger as an organization, a company, meaning typically, obviously what comes to that is success. Then a lot of external influence, not the right word, but external inputs start to come into play that you don't necessarily or didn't necessarily plan for. Right? It's just always try to stick to what made you ultimately do what you wanted to do as an entrepreneur. And as a successful entrepreneur, what comes after that is obviously a lot of attention, but never steer away from your core principles relative to not just what you wanted to do as a mission for your company and ultimately your customers or end users, but also as an individual, because then that tends to trickle down into the organization from a culture point of view. And what I've seen from my very first startup, I've seen unfortunately, depending on the organizations you go to and where, certain cultures can then compromise what your mission was. And then ultimately the product or the service starts to get impacted. And then it's a very slow process where people aren't having fun anymore and things start to not work out. Whereas if you stick to those core principles, which I felt we did in the last couple of times where we were successful, it made it a lot more fun for much longer. And then everything else comes with it, right? Whether you're in it for the money or other reasons, that all, to me, those are what I call short wins, because those things won't be with you in 40, 50 years. You want to make sure you're really addressing what's driving you, right? And just taking the moment, right? But at the same time, never steer away from what got you started in this journey, right? And then everything else just comes into place in my opinion. But hey, some people tend to learn the hard way as well. So like I tell some people too, you can listen to me, but at the same time, you're probably just going to end up doing what needs to be done. And hopefully when you learn the hard way, it's not that hard. And that's a bit of a lesson to tell my kids too. It's like, even my wife, right? And hey, I'm like, at some point, let's let them fall, let them learn their lesson. Our jobs, you don't want them to die, obviously, but sometimes they just need to learn the hard way. Why spend your time listening to me? Just go ahead and take my advice. Never take advice from people who are selling it. That's my view. But if they're willing to give it, then listen. But then ultimately, you own your decisions and actions.
Yeah, that's fantastic advice. Well, Marco, thank you for being on the show today. And thank you for telling the creation story of Exaforce.
Great, Noah. Thanks for having me. And I look forward to hearing the show.
And this concludes another chapter of Code Story. Code Story is hosted and produced by Noah Labhart. Be sure to subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or the podcasting app of your choice. And when you get a chance, leave us a review. Both things help us out tremendously. And thanks again for listening.
If you're a podcast host, listen up, this one's for you. My name is Allie Jackson. I'm the host of Finding Mr. Height, a dating and relationship podcast that I've been doing for 4 years now, sharing my positive and practical approach to dating that's built on my own life experience. And I wanted to share another experience that I've had, my secret behind monetizing my show. It's called Red Circle, and I was just telling my colleague about how much I love their platform. With Red Circle, not only am I getting a seamless hosting experience, but I also love the support I receive in ad sales. It's not just typical ad sales either. It's targeted opportunities based on my show and my life. And the platform is super simple. You just set your preferences and Red Circle matches you with sponsors that align with your show. You can vet every opportunity and their platform gives you great analytics. More recently too, my Red Circle team has brought me opportunities outside of my podcast on social media to really augment the podcast partnerships, bring them full circle. I just can't recommend them enough. If you want to give it a try, go to redcircle.com to get your free trial. That's redcircle.com for a free trial.